So soon as fashion is universal, it is out of date, by Marie von Eber-Eschenach. Fashion has been changing since we began wearing clothes, and things that impact it are the events, the trends, and the economy during the time. During the beginning of the 20th century, women began taking a larger role in society, and they had to wear clothes that allowed them to participate in the new activities. In 1914, when World War I started, fashion took a back seat, and people were more concerned with the resources and just getting through the war and helping out the soldiers. In the 1920s, we began seeing a flapper style after the war with shorter dresses to make the women look more manly and hide their curves and their fuller busts. In the 30s, when the Great Depression hit, people again began focusing more on the resources and the food and getting jobs for their families. And during this decade, we began to see a distinct difference between night and daytime evening wear because people needed work clothes and then going out clothes. In the 1940s, World War II began, and women had to reuse the fabric that they already owned to make new outfits for their children and their families. Drab and uniform styles came into play, and when this war was over in the 50s, people wanted luxury and they wanted to look fabulous, so we began seeing silks, and they wanted to emphasize their waists and their fuller chests and become more womanly looking. In the 60s, there's a distinct difference between teen and mother clothing because they didn't want to look like their drab moms, so their teens wore different outfits than their mothers did. During the 1970s, it was kind of an anything goes decade where you couldn't tell what was in or what was out. People were just more concerned with pleasing themselves, so everyone wore whatever they felt like, and there was no distinct fashion trend. Going into the 80s, people began looking to other nations to inspire them for their fashion choices, and that also reciprocated when Western styles began moving across the world as well. And fashion became a spectacle. It began taking on a new role where people were just looking to impress other people instead of choosing kind of what they thought was cool. They wanted to look cool, and it indicated their class and their social rank in society. And during the 90s, people were obsessed with being casual. They wanted to look sleek and simple. And in the past, it had always been a concern about being underdressed, but in the 90s, people began looking at not wanting to overdress for occasions. And getting into the 20th century, the early 21st century, people began wearing what they wanted to. There were some people who looked for higher end things and some people who looked for cheaper clothes to wear. And there's not necessarily one trend associated with this time. So from the beginning of the 20th century, even showing an ankle was scandalous, but now as time has gone by, we begin showing so much more skin. What we choose today isn't really our choice as much as we think it is. Things that inspire what we choose are what's taking place in the world during the time and what the economy is like and what we can afford. So how much say do you have when it comes to choosing what clothes you wear, and who is making that choice for you? This is my grandma,
Hi.
my dad, my grandfather, and my mom. And they are my wonderful audience today.